Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you. What a crazy crowd, huh? I always ask this question because in some ways it tells me at what level I'm going to speak. So how many of you have never heard me train before? Would you put your hands up? Oh, so I got some mostly senior citizens in here, huh? Okay, we're going to have some fun, but we're going to get some tough love too. Fair enough? Okay? When I teach many years ago, I made the decision when I left education that I wanted to discover what would make a difference in people's lives. And my background was in psychology. I was teaching at the collegiate level, and I was doing my research in how emotions work and how thought works. And over many years, and 42 years in this industry, and training people for 50, I have some things that I think are helpful to people. But there's some things we need to get ready for before we can even begin to hear the information where it can impact you effectively. So what I ask you to do is the impossible. You know, I know how students operate. They don't listen. They think they're listening. So I'm going to ask you to concentrate for the next hour with me. Stay focused. Stay focused. Because I'm going to deliver a lot of information, and I'm so confident that you can all get the information if you stay focused. Do we have a deal? Let's make some observations first. Did you ever observe yourself where you are in life right now? Have you ever taken the time to ask yourself, have I ever really had any real dreams that I was passionate about? When you answer those questions, for most people, the answer is, well, not really. Well, life doesn't respond to not really. Somebody ought to tell you. Life rewards those who do things that have value, and it lets everyone else struggle through with what they got. So I want to make it real clear to you in the beginning that wishful thinking that something lucky is going to happen for you is the thinking of a fool, totally hiding from the contest of life, which we were all born to challenge, develop, explore, and become. Statistics will tell you, for example, that the vast majority, better than 90%, of the people have no long-term gain to end up as senior citizens in good financial shape. Most of them will either be broken or broke. They do not plan for their financial futures. And most of the reasons that we don't is because we have jobs that have limitations for 99% of the people as to how much you can earn with your job, yes or no. So the only other alternative we have is to explore, hope we find something that we can do, that we can learn to do, that we can develop and be successful at. And I trust, I don't need to belabor the point, I'm totally convinced you're here now. But in order to win, you have to do a lot of changing. Why do I ask that, or why do I say that? Because if you had everything you already wanted, financially or otherwise, you probably wouldn't be in this audience. Would that be a pretty fair statement? So we all have unfulfilled needs, desires that need to be prompted, a new focus first on who we are, how do we get there, what's the meaning of life, and how should I go forward if I want to achieve. There are three words that I teach. The first one is be, which means become. The second one is do, which is the action phase of becoming. And the third one is have. Do you notice where have is? It's not in the beginning. It's not in the middle. It's at the end. So most people don't want to prepare. I've made an observation, and I want you men to listen. Most men, regardless of their careers, most, not all, but most, they flatline at about 40. Whatever they're doing at that age, they pretty much go through the rest of their life pretty much knowing what's coming next, going down the road, not too much exciting. You know, oh, let's play golf, or let's do this, or let's do that. And there's no more visions or dreams. And if that's what's life about, they missed the boat. We are born magnificent. Every single one of us is not only a biological miracle, but a spiritual miracle as well. You were born to be successful as defined by living properly, having adequate or whatever you need. It is not evil to be rich. What's evil about riches is how are you with them? So the love of money, when it's spoken of, a lot of people will use that as an excuse not to play full out or participate or become critical and judging others who might be striving to make money. So, who are we? Think about that question. Do you have a spirit or a soul? How many of you believe that you do have a soul? Can I see your hands? What if I told you I really question you on that? You must say, well, then why? So I'll tell you why. I see very few people that live as though they really believe they have a soul. Very few. We worry about everything. We're not confident in anything. We get angry real easy with people. We get resentful, jealous, covetous, nasty. Look at all the things we humans do to each other, and yet we say we believe we have a soul. Well, I'm going to give you an idea how possibly this is absolutely accurate. If you look at the universe, it was about 1929 when the Hubble telescope started to notice that the universe was speeding away from us. And that if you just took our galaxy, the Milky Way, at the speed of light, 186,282 miles per second, it would take over 100,000 light years to go from one end of one galaxy to the other. You kind of get a picture of vastness. Only a fool would think that's an accident. It's not an accident. You and I are connected to all of that, or we wouldn't be here. Anything that is partaking in that spirit. Call it God, call it divinity, call it what you want, that's your business, but don't think it's not there. Now, if that's who we are, tell me how you kill a spirit. If I could gather all the spirit in the universe, it would fit on the head of the pin and it wouldn't take up any space, because it's not confined to time or space as we know it. And that's who you are. Now, once you get an experience, I don't mean the prattling in your brain, that'll give you very little information. I'm talking about going beyond what you think is logical and landing in a place where you will know in your mind and your spirit that you are designed for peace and love and happiness. That's what you were made for. You see, the divine spirit does not make junk out of human beings. Human beings make junk out of themselves. So if we get that the essence that defines who we are is a spirit being already connected to divinity, because it's all one, then you could tie in to inspirations and thoughts you never even began to think about. But you have got to be aware and open up. For example, meditation. How many people meditate? You don't need to tell me, but you know how valuable that is? To me, it's the silent form of prayer, opening up and saying, teach me. I want to know truth. Teach me. You'd be amazed what enters your mind. So let me tell you about thought. Thought is a vibration. Everything in the universe is a vibration. Atoms, nucleus, neutrons, electrons, all vibrations. Music is a vibration. Everything in the universe is a vibration. So let's take a thought. We know that the nature of what you think creates what's in your life. Did you hear me? The nature of your thoughts, the system of your thinking is creating your reality. There are no two similar realities. An example would be here, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 people. Not two of you in here will hear me the same. Not two of you will hear me the same. You are creating me. I'm not creating anything but delivering a message. I like it, I don't like it. Wow, that hit me. Who's having that conversation? Who in you is listening to you when you're listening to me? Do you notice you're talking all the time? Who are you talking to? Who are you agreeing with or disagreeing with? You have to understand the power of human thought. All the great thinkers, all the great mystics, all the great theologians, all knew, the great philosophers, all knew simplistic things like, as you think, so shall you become. Your life is the net result of the thoughts you have thought into existence. If I want to move my hand out here, do you know I have to think move my hand before it moves? And do you know that just that mere thought, because I'm conditioned to know how to move my hand, all sorts of messages down the nerve systems are saying, oh, and you do it this way and this way and this way, and it's out there. We don't ever think about those things. The mystery of how we're put together, the magnificent structure of the human being. And we live life in the penalty box, worrying and screaming and stealing and cheating and arguing and fighting. It doesn't have to be that way. You can have it all. Now, what is all? All is you want peace, you want family values at work, you want to fit somewhere in this world that your life makes a difference. Does that appeal to you? Well, it can't make a difference if we're not doing things right or if our thinking is wrong. Dr. William James, the father of American psychology, near the end of his life was asked this question. Dr. James, what was the greatest discovery of your generation? To which he answered, that a human being can alter the circumstances of their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. Their attitudes of mind. That's their thinking, folks. Adjusting thinking. James Allen said, a man's life is a sum total of all the thoughts he's thought through it. What does that say? It says circumstance is created by thoughts. What shows up is an outcasting of what's inside. So everything starts inside and is manifest outside. That's how the world was created. It was thought into existence. Wow. And you can be connected anytime you want to. Anytime you, isn't that wonderful? But who's teaching you this? Who's teaching you? You won't get a course in the university about any of this. You see, it's your job to seek awareness, to seek wisdom, so that your life works. You know what life is really about? It's about service to others. You know what wealth is about? Wealth is about doing something that provides service to others. Whether it's a telephone, Bill Gates, doesn't matter. Or whether it's a great entrepreneur that invents something that you and I and our children take advantage of and they become wealthy, God bless them. Look at what they did for us. We never look at that. We get envious and we get jealous. What if they didn't do it? What if Henry Ford never went and started to mess around to build a car? Are you getting the point? People who make money make contributions. So here it is. Money, hear it real clear, money is a consequence of your and my contribution to the world we live in. Once we get that, then you know you're all being paid exactly what you're worth. I didn't like hearing that either. Surveys, U.S. News and World Report, a very respected magazine. Surveys, 85% of the people who go to their jobs every day don't like them. They're dissatisfied at some high level. So what do you think happens to the spirit of someone living like that? You think their family life is whoopity-doo? Do you think they come home with a smile on their face and an embrace for their family, their wives and their children? Or do they come home complaining with a sour face? Which one? Now, they have every right to take themselves someplace else, don't they? But they won't because they're afraid. We're afraid. So let's see where we started. I started by telling you when you were born, you knew your own magnificence. You weren't afraid of anything. You had two basic fears, loud noises and falling. How have you done since then? Just think about fear. 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 So that makes us anxious about the future. And when we look in the past, we get depressed over our mistakes and errors. So we've got depression of the past and anxiety to the future, so the present is flushed. There's nothing alive happening there but tolerance, existence. Can this be changed? Yes, it can. How? By changing the way we think, by focusing on the powers we have, the gifts we have, and stop being settled in. In this room, I'll tell you right now, man, some of you could have been great professional athletes. You were lazy. You didn't pay the price. Ladies, some of you could have been great theater people, great singers, but your sister was a little bit better and your mother told you, oh, your sister's the singer, and you flushed your dream. So what am I saying? I'm talking about probably the most important thing we need to work on as a starting point is self-image. What is self-image? How do we get it? Well, self-image is formed early in life with the opinions of other significant people in our lives as we're developing. Usually it's our parents, grandparents, teachers, rabbis, priests, whatever, whoever has an influence on us as we grow up is shaping what you think of yourself. You never had an original thought about it. You just had interpretation of what they thought about you and you bought it. I've seen it over and over again where someone improves their self-image and they almost transform their lives immediately. They begin believing in themselves and they shut down whoever told you you couldn't do it, did not tell you the truth. You bought the story, so give it back to them. You know, plastic surgery, interesting observations with plastic surgery. The surgeons will see people come in and they have imperfections. Maybe it's in their face. We'll just use the face, for example, because see it pretty quickly. And the surgeon will make the correction. And that person will go out, and when they take the bandages off and the scars heal, they completely change their personality. A shy person becomes vibrant and alive. Confidence levels go up. By doing what? The only thing that changed was not just the physical appearance, it was what they now saw themselves to be. Conversely so, this is very interesting too. Some patients had tremendous improvements from a surgical point of view. It was obvious to everybody, and would walk into the doctor and say, I don't see any difference at all. And guess what? They stayed the same frumpy personalities in spite of the evidence. Can you see how obstinate we can be to wisdom and knowledge? Some people actually love being stuck because they're so darn lazy and don't want to admit it. They don't want to work on themselves, and that's okay. But don't complain about your life. You've got to do something if you want to get someplace new. You've got to leave someplace old. So what usually gets people through the self-image is, since its belief, listen closely, it's built on the belief system, which is your belief about yourself, your limitations. You're ugly, you're fat, you're pretty, you're not, you're this, you're tall, you're stupid, you're smart. Got it? I can sing, I can't sing, I can't dance. You know how many things you say you can't do are lies? You know why you don't do them? You don't want to be embarrassed, so what's stopping you? That you don't have the skill, or you don't have the emotional fortitude to let it be embarrassed and do it anyway? Which one's the truth? Oh, I could never get up and speak to anybody. I could never get up and speak in front of people. Why? I'm going to tell you why. I don't want anybody judging me. I might make a mistake. I don't want to be foolish, and I'm not good at that. All lies. You're a coward. Sorry. Now, here's the wonderful part about this. What if you had the courage to finally say, nobody's limiting me anymore? I'm going to go up and I'm going to speak. I'll tell you how to do it. Give your problem away. Come up here if you've never spoke before, and you go, oh my God. Say, one night, maybe at a meeting, I'm going to give it a shot. So you come up here, and here's what you're doing. Here's what you say. Oh man, I hope I keep it together. You have no idea how scared I am. I think that none of you are going to like what I have to say. Would you please give me a chance? I'm going to fight this thing and get through. You will make an audience cry with you, because you were them out of the chair. You gave them an example of how to do it. So, in order for me to change my self-image, I need new beliefs about myself. Now, that example I just gave you, that person who came up, gave their problem away, and gave their little speech, they got a new belief system now, don't they? Do they not believe that they can do what they didn't do 20 minutes before? That's how it's built. You got to explore, get out of what they call your comfort zone. A comfort zone is a coffin with both ends kicked out. Afraid to feel, afraid to be judged. Aren't you through with other people determining you? Do you know how much power you have to go to the top in anything? This is a cakewalk. It's a cakewalk. Get focused, put the time in, put the effort in. Every single great achievement is not easy, folks. Somebody ought to tell you the truth. It's trial and error. J.P. Watson. He said the quickest way to success is double your failure rate. You don't learn anything unless you're struggling and failing along the way. That's where you learn. Example, I invite 10 people to come to a meeting and only 2 show. If I've got the wrong attitude, I got an attitude when I'm talking to 2. Instead of being full out excited together. And if nobody comes, go to the mirror and practice your presentation by yourself. When you sit with people, know that what I'm telling you, they're going through. They're not going to say it. But you know what people want? They want to be loved. They want to be with people they trust, who they believe. That's why I screamed at you leaders the other day. Be example to your people. Be out there in front. Show them. Is the best teacher in the world for a leader is to be what they are teaching. And listen to people who have done what you want to do. It's a shortcut. It's a shortcut. You can either learn all by your mistakes, or you can learn by somebody who's made a whole bunch of them that's willing to tell you how to avoid some. Which one looks smarter to you? I think I'd rather get around people who achieved what I have achieved and talk to them for advice and input. Does that make sense? Well, you ought to hear what I hear sometimes. Stupid talking to stupid about how to make money. Neither one of them have any. There is not a better environment anywhere for learning and teaching than this environment that you're sitting in. I have people who send me letters years and years later that never even joined the business, but they may have been in an audience like this, telling me the impact it had, how their light bulb went on, and they are now this and now that. So I don't question whether it works or not. The only question that you need to have is, will you let it work for you? And I can't do that for you. I am not the issue. I ask people, how many people do you see here teaching? The logical observation is 1. That's a huge illusion. You don't know the books I've read, the courses I've taken, the people that I sat at their feet to learn. You don't know anything that I did to be able to be a mouthpiece. That's all. I am not the issue. The information is the issue. I'm the one who delivers it. And I don't compromise it, because I don't care to be popular. I care to be effective. You mean too damn much to me in order to not give you the best I have. So let's go inside the mind for a little bit, okay? Dr. Penfeld, who was the father of neurology, at the end of his career made this statement: there is nothing in the brain that can possibly explain consciousness. Now, consciousness is the all-pervasive energy of everything in the universe. It's all in you, it's all in me, it's all in everything that's out there is in consciousness. In fact, we can't even prove reality through science. Interesting? You look at matter, for example. You look at matter, you go, oh, that sure is solid. See it as a physicist. Picture a string on my finger going out with a pebble, and I start spinning it. You're watching solid in motion. It's going so fast, I can't get anything through it, because it's occupying everything so fast, it seems like it's solid. That's pretty cool. When people come to me and say, George, I'd like to talk to you. I have a problem. I really don't believe in much of anything. I say, well, I'm going to give you an exercise. Come back and see me tomorrow. What do you want me to do? Simple. Go out and stick your face in a flower and look in there and tell me what all that beauty and color and pattern is there for. Then come back and tell me you still don't believe in anything, and we'll go from there. I never had anybody come back and say that wasn't a bit mystified. Talk about failure and starting. I had polio as a kid. I was in an iron lung. I was not supposed to live. And when I lived, they told my mother, you can take him home, he'll never walk again. I had to begin to exercise. I had a very spiritual mother and grandmother that wouldn't give up. And they were giving me more pain to get me better. Woolen, hot, boiling blankets of heat on my back and legs. I didn't like any of it. But I had a passion. I wanted to play ball. Oh, I wanted to be an athlete. It was driving me crazy. So I'd go out in the street and I couldn't walk right, I walked wiggly, and what do kids do? Kids make fun of you. Okay, so what? I used to try to get in the game, but I learned something very early, how life really works, how it's performance-based, how it's really just. It is. You see, I wanted to play. So did my desire to have something that I wanted, was that enough? No. Desire alone is an idle dream. I had to have more going. So I recognized the way they picked the teams, they threw the bat. We played in the street. Threw the bat in the air, and I noticed that one guy was captain of one team and another guy was captain of the other team. Now picture 100 kids in the street on a Saturday, only 18 are going to get picked, 9 on each team. So you quickly recognize that the 2 guys that became captains were captains because Evie recognized they were the best. They saw them perform. They were the best. They should be the guys who picked each team. Then I noticed something else. If one guy got the first pick, he picked the next best player. Interesting, isn't it? And when the other guy got his chance, he picked the second best player. And that went all the way down until they got 9 on each side. So I could sit on that curb and moan all I wanted. Sometimes people would come by and say, "Give the kid a chance." I hated it when they did that. See, they just wanted to feel good about how wonderful and caring they were. They weren't inside my head. That wasn't helping me at all. That's all I needed was one more person to cry for me. That's all I needed. That could become a habit, folks. Some of you know clearly what I'm talking about. So I had to work hard. Well, I got inspired by an all-black basketball team out of Harlem called the Harlem Globetrotters. And the Globetrotters could do things with a basketball you'd only dream about. Oh, Marcus Haynes and Goose Tatum and all those guys spinning around, moving the ball on their fingers behind their head. It was unbelievable. And I'm a white guy trying to do this. And I'm recovering from polio. Nice try. So I go out, and my grandmother used to make mittens every year, to keep the snow out. I would take a pair of scissors and cut the end of the gloves off so my fingers would show out so that I could dribble the basketball and build my coordination. Rain, sleet, or snow. I'd do it so hard, my fingers would split and bleed. I'd put Vaseline on them, hope they closed up a little bit, and do it the next day. You see, I learned early, nobody's going to give me anything. I need to perform. Well, I didn't know where it would go. In 1961, I played in Madison Square Garden to a sold-out house for the basketball national championship of the USA, and we won. I didn't only play. I had 19 rebounds and 17 points in a game that was like 62 to 59. I'm only telling you this because in between there, I did something absolutely so embarrassing you'd probably want to never play again. I was playing on my little grammar school team, and I wasn't a starter. I was one of those goofs on the bench like a mascot. But finally, we were like way out in front. So the coach called on me. I almost died. I was actually going to go in the game. So I got in the game, and I don't know what I'm doing. They run this way, I follow them this way. They run that way, I follow them this way. Well, there was a loose ball rolling around the floor. I knew one thing. I could get that. So I jump on the loose ball. I get up, and I just take off running. Okay, nobody's chasing me. I mean, I'm going. I put the ball up. It rolls around. It rolls around. It was the joy of my life. I made a basket. Yeah, well, I got disoriented and scored for the other team. Mm-hmm. Let's go home to your 4 brothers. Did you hear what he did? Fun, huh? So what I'm trying to say to you is there's so much power in you to change and alter your life. But it has to be built on new ideas and beliefs on you, and the only way you can get them is to challenge some new behaviors, do some new things, forget the past, and here's what you must do. This is so critical. You know who shaped or at least contributed to shaping what you think about yourself. Could have been a cruel father, an insensitive mother, no parents at all that you knew. Could be any number of reasons that you didn't think you could be great. You might harbor a lot of bitterness and hatred and resentment today as you sit here. The best advice I can give you is forgive them all. Forgive them all. You have carried the gorilla either consciously or unconsciously to your own spiritual demise. Forgive yourself at the same time. Wipe it clean. And the evidence of whether it was true for you is the new direction of your life. In this business and in life, but especially here, we have an incredible opportunity to nurture the dreams of others, to help them become better human beings because they know us and they're mentored and coached by us. You leaders, become what you are espousing to be, a real leader. Now that does not mean, and I want to make a clear distinction here, you do not do for others when they're not learning, seeking, and growing. Don't waste your time there. Don't do it. In psychology, we call that enabling. That's making a person think they're so stupid or incapable that they can't improve and learn to do something. That should be an insult. Should be an insult if that's happening for you. Step up, do your homework, read. As life goes on, I want you all to know your toolbox is from the neck up. You got it? When's the last time you read good books? Read inspirational material, or have you flatlined with knowledge and advancement of your knowledge and skills? There could be a concert pianist in here that was afraid to touch a piano, and you could start today and in 10 years be playing somewhere incredible. Yeah, you could if you wanted to. Lost dreams, revive. And you know you do need money to move along in life, don't you? You do need money to do nice things for other people, don't you? You say you want to help your family and your friends, show them the way. Show them the way. Bring them along with you. But if they don't see a change in you, they'll think you're just using them to get them involved. To change, like Gandhi said, to change the world, change you while you're in it. The world will take care of itself. So true. Thoughts, the mind. Conscious mind, unconscious mind. Conscious mind is kind of the driver. The unconscious mind is the obedient servant. Everything you do is about 85 to 90% from your unconscious. Everything you do, you program yourself. It's automatic after a while. We learn how to play a piano, we sit down, we know where the keys are. How about the first time you tried? You had no muscle memory or connection neurologically to be able to put your fingers where they belong. Typewriter, computer, anything. Routinely, we know that basketball players will greatly improve their shooting ability with meditation. And the meditation is they absolutely see the ball going in, and they just keep seeing it going in. And it starts to program the nerves of release and how to do it, and they improve. We know that men that were in prison in Vietnam, imagine playing golf every day. They took 7 and 8 strokes off their game, and they never hit a ball, but they did it in their imagination. What do you imagine for yourself? You have to start somewhere. You have to pick something that you want to do or accomplish and mean it. Lukewarm does not work. When someone says to me, "Oh, George, I'll give it a try," I say, "Quit now. You won't stand a chance." Because trying is not the kind of effort that gets to the finish line. You see, when you say, "I'll give it a try," let me explain to you psychologically what you're really saying. Each of us in life have had things we tried to accomplish that we failed at, yes? Well, those things, the reason we failed most of the time was not that we really couldn't do it. Our emotions took over, frustration took over, lack of patience took over, no perseverance took over. So what that has done to us at the unconscious level, it builds a glass ceiling through which anything else you do will evoke the same emotions at about the same time, and it'll stop you. And you don't even know it's there. An example would be if you take fleas and put the fleas in a jar and put a top on. The fleas are going to try to get out. They keep hopping and hopping and hopping and hopping and hopping and hopping and hopping. After a period of time, take the lid off. The fleas will jump just as high as where they hit, and stop, and they'll die. How much more sophisticated is your brain? And yet you're using it the same way. So be aware that the limitations you have set for yourself are programmed from the past. Break them down. It's not you anymore. Well, so let's see. Conscious, unconscious. Here's how it works. Conscious mind thinks a thought. Boy, this is going to be fun. Guess what happens in the unconscious? The unconscious immediately goes out looking for validation of that thought. It actually brings you reinforcement that, yeah, it's going to be fun. You'll start thinking, man, I can't wait to bring my cousin or tell my mother. Notice how the chain continues. All right, let's go back. You face something, oh man, this is going to be difficult. Guess what your mind does? Gives you all the reasons to validate the original thought. Haven't you noticed how your mind works? That's what you need to stop. You take charge. No, I'm not thinking that way. I'm going after what I said. And I'm going to do it. Why? Because I said so. I don't need another reason. Because I said so. So here's how to understand it. Conscious mind, the thinker. Unconscious mind, the prover. The thinker thinks, the prover proves. What does the prover prove? The prover proves what the thinker thinks. Did you get it? Shall I do it again? Mind, conscious, thinker. Thinker thinks, unconscious, prover. Prover proves. What does the prover prove? The prover proves what the thinker thinks. This is breakthrough stuff, folks. And you know the interesting thing, the other night I had a nice group of young men. I was sitting downstairs, and I think they kept me up till 4 in the morning. But they were great guys, and they were sitting around, and I asked them, did they learn how to use language in recruiting? And they kind of looked at me with a stare like what? I said, how do you know who's across from you? I said, when I listen to most people recruit in my history of network marketing, unless they're trained, I said, the person or your prospect is always a bit suspicious, yes or no? They're not coming in and say, sign me up, I don't even need to hear about it. They come in a bit skeptical, and they should, okay? Well, how do you make friends with that person? How do you relax them? What kind of questions do you ask them? Okay? I said, it's not that, oh, George, would you please tell us? You know, I said, I don't know. Oh, come on. I said, all right, I'll do it. I'll recruit you. Well, they all ran for their phones. They're all pressing on buttons. I said, I'm not going to do it. They said, why? Because that's what you've been doing all your life. Have you learned anything that stuck? See, I'm going to give you one shot to hear it, and watch your concentration when you know it's the only shot you're going to hear it. Now, some of those guys are probably in here, and they probably tell you it was the best training they had because they had the focus for about 3 or 4 minutes. Anybody here that was there? Yeah. see? And that's our problem. We do not concentrate. People used to get my talk, Profile of a Champion. It's been all over the world. Every once in a while, I run into an airport and someone comes up and says, George, man, I got that talk. I did it 20-some years ago. I got that talk. My God, is that thing great? I say, yes. I said, how many times did you listen to it? Here's our academic brilliance. Oh, well, I listened to it, yeah. Why didn't you ask for a refund? They said, what? I said, if it took me 30 years to give the talk, and you listened to it once and you think you got the information, it's impossible. It's impossible. Now, I'm going to tell you why it's impossible. Wouldn't you like to know? Okay? If I'm talking about something, a quality or a trait or a correction that you know you need to make, the minute you get that inside of you from the speaker, you're gone. You go into internal dialogue. Sounds something like this. Boy, I guess he's talking to me. I do that all the time. Geez, you know what? I think I should probably, okay, did I stop talking and teaching? No, I kept right on going, didn't I? So there's big gaps in what you think you heard. I hear them say, hey, I listened to it 3 times. Man, you never hear the same thing twice. I say, no kidding. Why don't you master the information? Maybe 20 times will get you there. Would it be worth it? Would 20 times be worth it if you could have that information working through you every day? Would it be worth it? Too lazy. Too lazy. I used to teach a bunch of students. They should have been astronautical engineers because all they did was take up space. But their parents were paying a lot of money to put them in the room. You know, there's some of your kids that come home complaining about how rough school is. Why did I get a D? You got a D because you didn't study. That's why you got a D, son. Don't give me your excuses. Which brings me to the next subject. Oh, some of you know where I'm going right now. There are 2 things. If you want to prosper, you must give up today and forever forward. Now, I want you to picture, over here is a huge leather suitcase, huge, and it's bulging like this, and a chain around my neck, a heavy chain tied to me. And on this side, there's an identical suitcase, bulging, with a chain around my neck going that way. And I think I'm going to go forward, take my neck off, wouldn't I? So somebody said, well, George, what's in the suitcase? I said, just a minute. Oh, excuses. We're full of excuses, and most of them are flat out lies. You get away with them. Why? Because people use them all the time. I'd have been there, but. Gee, I didn't come to work yesterday. Man, I had a migraine. Excuses. I didn't do that because. I should have, but I didn't. Lie, 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 lie. There goes your character right down the toilet. On this side, I look over and I go, oh man, you're not going to like this one any better. Blame. I'm this way because of my mother. My father didn't love me. My brothers and sisters were mean to me. The kids used to laugh at me. My teacher called me stupid. We have a surgeon, a black surgeon in the United States right now, number 2 running for president of the United States. Well, let me tell you his story. He grew up where Mike, Robert, Tony, Greg grew up in the hard streets of Detroit. This black kid was figured to be so stupid, his mother couldn't read or write. She was bringing him up in Detroit. The kid would come home and just say to his mother over and over again, but Mom, I'm stupid, I'm dumb. It was being reinforced because he had problem catching on in the classroom. His mother kept saying to him, limited, no education. And she would say to him, son, you are not stupid. Everything you need is in your brain. Everything you need is in your brain. Time and time and time again. That was her instruction. Guess what? He became the surgeon who successfully separated Siamese twins. And it's unfortunate that so many people that should love him don't like him because it says it's a call to arms. Your start wasn't anywhere near what his was. Complain, complain, complain. 2 men sat behind prison bars. One saw mud, the other saw stars. The exact same experience, but the way they thought about it created an entirely different experience. That's your life. 2 people face difficulty. One surrenders and says, this I shall overcome. And the other says, I'm mad, she did it, he did it, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her, for him, blah, 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 blah. Don't you get sick of it? I mean, I can hear excuses from 10 miles away. I don't know what it is, but I can see someone walk through the door and say, here comes an excuse maker. Which is something else. Every one of you have an aura. Do you know that? You're a field of vibration. Do you know that? Thought is a vibration. Now we know that. Every one of you has a countenance. You know what a countenance is? It's you alive or you half dead, just in the way you interact or show up. You can always tell someone who has a peaceful spirit and a loving person. Their countenance is different. And you can always tell people who are ragged and dragged and negative and complaining and bitching all the time and not doing much to improve but complain. Oh yeah. When you walk through that door over there, every one of us, these lights either brighten because of your countenance and aura or they darken because of what you bring into the room. That's consciousness. The world's in the shape it's in because of the consciousness of the people in it. The type of thinking they're thinking. And the only thing that spirit can do is think. We're the only creatures who can think. Thinker thinks, prover proves. Cause and effect. It's a law. Cause and effect. I think a thought, it causes something, doesn't it? It causes a feeling, an emotion, and a behavior. Then it keeps going. According to what I sent out, it shows up over here as an effect. So the nature of my thought created what shows up. I'm stupid. You're going to prove it. Guaranteed you will run into everything that draws it to you. Because, see, thought is a vibration. So look at it this way. You want higher levels of thought? Think higher levels of thought. Why? Picture thoughts like a cannon or being shot out of a gun. It only has so much power to go up and then it flatlines. And that's where it's going to stay in the ether. Okay? What do you think is up there? Similar thoughts of the same nature are going to vibrate at the same frequency in the same stratosphere. That's why like attracts like. Now send up a better thought, a more loving thought. Guess where that goes? It goes right past that stuff. That's not where it's going to live. At a higher level. So what do you think the circuitry is up there? What's going to come back? But if you never leave here because you're stuck, then don't complain. You're creating your own life. You are creating it by the nature of your thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors. Nobody else. So it's real good advice to forgive everybody, decide you are going to take charge of you. And you are sick and tired of being sick and tired. You are going to make a difference, whether it's here or somewhere else. Make a difference for yourself, those who trust and love you, and your families. So the law of attraction simply says, there's a whole lot written about it. It's also called the laws of compensation. And the laws of compensation says you get in return in accordance to what you give. Did you ever hear that principle somewhere else? As you give, so shall you receive. Have you ever heard it before? Well, then why don't we give? You know what you're supposed to give? You're supposed to give of your developed God-given talents, whatever they are. That's your gift to the world. That requires you get on it, or you're never going to have the rich, fulfilling life that's available to you. We keep looking for quick answers and people who just want to fill you full of baloney, tell you what you need is a bigger car, a better this, a better that. They keep you like fish in a net. We don't even know we're trapped, because when you look to your left or right, everybody else is there too. Are you going to be a 90%er or an 8 to 10%er? Which one are you going to be? Because the 8 to 10%ers, they're the ones that reach those places in life we all hope one day we could get there. But if you live only in hope, you're going to die in desperation. You have to work. Enthusiasm. I love it. Here we go back to countenance, okay? You either show up as an inspired person or not. To me, the world is divided into only two types of people. Those who are inspired and those who are not. And it's at least 30 to 1. Guess where most people fit. They're not inspired. They're survivalists. Get up in the morning, go to work. 85% don't like it. Have your lunch. When everybody says, have your lunch, let's go home, drive the car, let's go home. You didn't make dinner? I'll make dinner. Why don't we get whatever? Turn on the news or turn on the soap operas, turn on something. Oh, man, I better get to bed. I got to get up in the morning. Okay, here it is Friday. Goof off all day. Did you ever notice? You should have a neck brace. Every Friday afternoon, if you get out at 5 like this, you're going after 2 at the clock. Oh, man, it's not moving very fast. Then you get out to do what? Man, we got to get to the pub or get somewhere, man. This has been a rough week. Oh. Saturday, oh, man, I don't want to cut the grass. Oh. Sunday, you got to go to church? Oh, you got to be kidding. I'm tired. I'm beat up from the week. Here comes Monday morning, like Fats Domino. Monday morning and it sure looks bad. Was it worth it for the time that I had? So if you want to prove what I'm saying, here's what I want you to do. Wherever you work, tomorrow you go to work, Tuesday, whenever it is, I want you to walk in, and here's what I want you to do. Whoa, am I excited to be here this morning. I can't wait to contribute to the bottom line of my company and earn my pay, because they've given me an opportunity to at least take a check home every week. I'm here to contribute. Just look around and watch them look at you. They will have you in the Human Resources Department in a straitjacket heading to the psychiatric hospital. I'm running out of time, so I'm going to quickly wind down here. Time. Whoa, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Come on to Barcelona and bring all your friends. I'll do it again. As to time, I'm going to tell you this. Each of us right now are the oldest we're ever going to be. At the same moment, we're the youngest that we'll ever be. So with time, live in the present, because that's all you've got. If we're here tomorrow morning, we just have another now, another moment to create a new possibility, to love more, to care more, to give more, to develop more. Learn to use time effectively. And when you leave here, I always like to tell you a couple of things I'd like you to do. I want you to dance tonight like nobody can see you. I want you to sing tonight like nobody can hear you. And I want you to love like you've never been hurt. God bless you.